But, obviously coming off, there we go, I'll take that, Captain. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
That is water, isn't it?
That's yeah. You saw us play, so you think I'm going a straight shot. Oh, that's good. No, as usually happens when you break down, the hurt of a loss and some of the things become a lot more glaring probably than can some kind get kind of looked over in a victory, right? Because at the end of the day, the idea you play the game is to go get a win. And I would say that there was actually more encouraging and learning from some of the things that occurred where we didn't play well, and yet at times we did. And, was it us or was it them? In some cases, they triggered and hit us in the mouth pretty good, and give them credit. And yet we responded pretty well after halftime. And, take away the red zone fumble, and all of a sudden now you're looking at a 6-point game with an opportunity at the end to win it. And, those are all things that we need to, step back and evaluate and say how. I don't think we played our best, and yet we played against a team that was pretty darn good. And as I told our players, though, it's not like it was the Green Bay Packers. I did not, see that as that kind of situation. But there's some things that we will definitely improve on, and part of it starts in practice. And you guys heard me last week. I was not satisfied with our Tuesday practice. And yet, you know what? There were a lot of things that happened in Tuesday's practice that occurred in the ball game. And I think that's a great learning experience that, it's about the work you do today to prepare you for what you're about to encounter on Saturday in this case. So, there was some good performances by some guys. I thought really, and overall, when you look at the effort, again, guys, I didn't see any quit. Defense stopped them, gave us an opportunity offensively. We come out at half, we get a stop, we drive the length of the field, and you turn the ball over. You don't, against a good team, that's a recipe for disaster. And that's the way it was. That's the way it kind of bared out. So, but with that, there's some encouraging spots, and not just encouraging, but you know what, guys, we're going to have a heck of a football team as this season wears on. And as we talk about life's lessons in defeat or in times that aren't going great, really what makes it's easy when you're rolling, and yet you got to dig down and become better, and that's what we'll do.
What you talked about great learning lessons from that game. What were the things that jumped out at you as areas you probably need to spend a little bit more focus on in the coming weeks?
I talked about the attack part of it. They attacked us. Our first drive was stalled a little bit, and we ended up, having to settle for a field goal. And when you look at that, once we got down in that area, they took it to us. I felt that the tempo in which they played offense early, they attacked us defensively, and I'm not sure we played with the same. Is the word vigor? Is that a good word?
Sure.
Okay, I like that word, vigor. As we did, the previous week, And part of that was, I think, you know, the creation of the chaos. I'm not sure we handled it. You know, as you guys know, that's kind of what we try to do and simulate as much as we can in how we practice. But I'm not sure we handled the chaos and the clutter well until we kind of settled in a little bit. And when you play on the road, there's always going to be chaos and clutter. We've got to make sure we focus on exactly what it is that we need to do to accomplish the task. I think somebody brought up afterwards, which was actually very perceptive, and I didn't get it till I watched the film, but there was a little bit of that. Guys doing a little extra instead of just their job, which there in turn maybe created some lanes for them to run in. Maybe we over-pursued at times. You know, those type of things. Especially as well on offense, trying to run the ball, maybe trying to help out a guy a little more than, you know, just do your job. And there'll be a lot of that as they looked at the video. So that was very perceptive.
You look at the film, tackling, it seemed like issues just wrapping guys up.
Yeah.
What, did it just come down to simply that? Just
Yeah.
going more with the shoulder?
You know, running your feet, trying to knock a big guy over with a single blast rather than, you know, I was disappointed in our wrap-up. Not to discount that this is probably the first time we've had to tackle that big a guy. And, you know, I'm not sure. I think it caught us off guard a little bit. And yet, you know, it isn't like we have never tackled a guy that big. You know what I'm getting at? But at the same time, guys, we do a drill called Ram Drill every week, okay? That's about defeating the cut block. And they cut us, all right? Which then in turn created some lanes for that guy to run, in which now we're getting, you know, kind of those side kind of glancing type tackles rather than getting your feet set and forming them up. You know, I mean, we were doing a lot of that, hitting them from the side, and part of that has to do, it goes directly back and correlates 100% to the technique that's being taught, which we executed in our first ball game pretty well and regressed in this ball game. And it goes down to one simple drill we do every week. It's called Ram Drill. How to defeat the cut block and how to angle tackle. And when you pull up last week's Ram Drill, it wasn't as good as the week before. And so, you know, I look at it as a coach that I'm the one who didn't demand that was done over and done over correctly, because then in turn it came and bit you at the end. Does that make sense?
How many tackles did you miss?
You know what? There comes a time where, you know, a calculator doesn't go high enough to the amount, and I think it was somewhere in the range of how many quarterback sacks we had in that first scrimmage. I think it was about 385, 7, something like that.
When you watch the film, was it more the defensive problem, more missed tackles of guys being in the right spot, or were there a lot of guys that weren't in the right spot?
You know, over pursued in some cases, not defeating the blocker at the point of attack, which then puts you out of position, which then stems back to gap control. And our communication was actually, guys, was really good with all their tempo stuff. We got the right calls in. That part I was really happy. There wasn't any of those guys sitting there, you know, wide open, nobody covering. Now, granted, the swing pass down there in the red area where we got caught up in a pick situation, great call against the defense that was called. You know, give them the credit on that. And yet the technique in which it was played, they ran the same play the next time down there that we stopped them in the same call, And guess what? We executed the technique properly, and there was no gain. So, I say that it's the one weakness to that call that we know, but it also forces the technique to be precise or the detail to be precise. So,
Coach, if we can put Boise State among the top teams in the conference.
sure.
Is there still a gap between CSU and the top teams in the conference? And if so, was it surprising to you or disappointing to you?
It was very disappointing, obviously, because, you go in, in any contest you go into with the idea that you're going to be, you're going to win. So the disappointing thing is that we lost. Now, the gap, I don't see a huge gap. I see we're getting there. Do I think we're there yet? No. And yet, you ask any program that is successful, you never arrive. You always strive to get better no matter who you are. And so with that being said, the disparity, I don't think we know yet this early in the season, after game 2. And what has there been 2 Mountain West Conference games played? Is that right? So I'm not sure anybody really knows yet. So it'll be interesting to see. I know how much better we have gotten, just in the development of our organization and how we're playing. There's no doubt in my mind on that. There's actually nights I can sleep now, where I'm not sure before I could. So, but with that, that disparity part, they will be the king of the mountain until somebody knocks them off. We all played it in grade school. There was that one guy that you kept trying to get off, and then when you finally got off, you felt pretty good. But guess what? Somebody else is coming after your tail, right? And that's what makes this such a great, profession.
Talked to Fred Zerblis after the game. He did admit there are some things that young line got taught.
Yeah.
And Ty and even Derek had mentioned it. There are just certain nuances to playing that position that aren't in the playbook. How valuable was this for them moving forward in learning how to handle some of the twist games, some of the hand fighting techniques that really good defensive linemen have that they hadn't seen?
Well, and I'll say this: they're inside guys. They were the way they're supposed to be. Okay, I mean those guys were really, really good players and very physical and quick. And I think it jumped on our guys. The one thing that the familiarity of that position playing together, after you develop a cohesive working arrangement with the guy next to you, there's certain things that can go unsaid because you know exactly what that guy's doing. You know what I mean? And so there was obviously a lot of that in that game. I think the thing that probably got us was the force at which they filled from the second level on the outside run maybe caught some of our guys a little bit. And I say the way they triggered probably was a little bit of an eye-opener, and we were a little late getting off the ball with the snap count, the silent snap count, which, isn't an excuse, but that's what you have to prepare for as you go into a louder environment. And, I'm not sure we handled that well. We were a step slow at a couple spots where normally, as you said, that rhythm of Weston and 50 starts, those guys, it was like in 8 cents. And we were just a hair slow to trigger ourselves in some of those situations, so they beat us to the edge rather than us beating them to the edge.
But you knew this was something that was going to happen.
Right.
Good to have it happen maybe this early in the season.
Not good that it was a conference opponent, okay, at all, and yet, something I knew would probably rear its ugly head at some point. Not that we didn't work on it, but you can't simulate it to that speed, I guess, is really the way to say it. But there's where the learning comes. And you know, I'm a firm believer that you learn more in defeat than you ever do in success. I really do. And maybe that's because I don't know why that would be, but I just know the lessons you really look into it, where sometimes it glosses over when you get away with a win. You see what I'm saying? And so, and I think that parallels everything we do in life, personally.
But that does come back to the point, there are some things you can teach your young guys in practice, and you got a lot of them playing all over the place.
On-the-job training
On the job,
is
there are things
huge.
You can't teach that happen in a game that they have to learn for themselves.
There's no doubt about it. And, you know, there was no more, I mean, guys, this was a disappointed football team in the locker room afterwards, which tells me if they weren't feeling sorry for themselves, they were disappointed in their action. And to me, that's the sign of what is becoming a mature football team. And it wasn't guys necessarily hanging their heads and pouting, but rather a sense of, you know, we let one slip away, and how are we going to change effect? You know, how are we going to cause effect what just happened? And, you know, I kind of came away with, you know what, this is good. We'll be able to constructively teach and lost to a pretty darn good football team. I'm willing to bet that they go on and win a couple more games.
Coach, comparing the first two games, against CU, your running attack
Right.
pretty significant.
It was
Against Boise State,
non-existent.
right there.
Yeah.
What happened?
I would say that the biggest thing was we went from a reading defense to a movement defense. You know, it's a different philosophy. Some things maybe work a little bit better from an offensive standpoint, depending on what your system is. You know, sometimes reading is better or works better against certain things, and sometimes, you know, the movement and the angles and the attacks work better. I would say it's really the first time that our guys went up against that quick and sudden a movement in a lot of things, and the new line we got beat. So we got beat at tight end too. You know, I mean, let's not forget that part. And yet, some of it, we missed some points in the run game, which was disappointing, but there was also some creative movement that caused that as well, and so give them credit in that. And the way the game went, the opportunity to really continue to run the ball and find your rhythm. You know, as I've often said, any time we're going to throw for over 400 yards, there's a pretty good chance we're probably on the short end of the stick. And that bared out again in this game.
The offensive line here has always been noted as the strength. Did Boise State take that advantage away from you in some way?
Yeah, they did, no doubt about it. And it wasn't necessarily a schematic thing as much as, you know, you hear me say it over and over, and it really is the truth in this game. Was it them or was it us? And in this case, as always, there was a little bit more of them. In other words, they won. In other words, their guy won the one-on-one. But was that because of something they did, or was it because of something we did? And guys, at the end of the day, it was something we did. And yet we competed throughout the ballgame, had our opportunities, not kind of playing ugly, and still had our opportunities. You got to look at that and say, boy, we get this corrected, we got good things happening.
Well, Jim, when you look at your fourth quarters, you outscored your opponents 35-0. I know that's something you would rather see in your first quarter. How do you kind of get that flipped and get that sense of urgency that's there late in the game to the start of the game?
Well, and I thought, like I say, I thought we came out and attacked fairly well. I think the one that really hurt in that ball game was giving up. Our special teams, I'm going to say, we showed. You can tell a lot of a team by what they're doing on special teams, and I felt that we took advantage in that position. I think we won the special teams. With that, we had an opportunity where we had them knocked down there at the 10-yard line, and they go 90 yards. On a drive, and you look at time of possession in the first half was almost flipped the second half. And part of that had to do with our offense finally doing something a little bit and getting our defense off the field. As far as that, I thought we started fairly fast, and yet they started faster. So we'll keep working on it.
The passing game certainly was going to be a strength. You're hoping it was going to be a strength. Big numbers, but a lot of it did come in that fourth quarter. It looked out of sync early. What do you guys have to do to kind of get that where you expect it and hope it will be?
Yeah, I'm not sure it was out of sync early. Richard fell down on the first one, but then Garrett came back and won, I think, 4 or 5, So I thought the rhythm was there. So what we need to do is, guys, we left quite a few explosive post balls and goes balls on the field that we've got to be able to capitalize on those. There's a lot of coaches that adhere to the theory that you're just going to throw it deep at least 2 times every quarter and in some cases 4 times every quarter, because chances are you hit 1 of 4, and guess what? That's an explosive play, or you get PI or whatever, right? Well, we did that and had guys there, and I'm not sure we finished, be it the throw a little bit long or the actual catch itself.
That's what I mean by it. It seemed like it was close.
Yeah.
Not quite where it needs to be.
I think the
In a lot of
explosive throw,
cases.
Definitely. It's something we work on all the time. You just got to come up with the play. And
As
that's
a coach, do you talk to a guy like Jordan who's had a couple of chances on those and just keep him, I guess, spirits high?
well, you go back. I mean, you got a free throw shooter and then all of a sudden he misses a couple, and now you're going to make a huge deal about it. And now the guy's at a psychiatrist every day trying to figure out how to hit the middle of the ocean, right? You break it down technically as to why. Where are your hands? Your hands have to be with your eyes. And especially you don't wait for a ball here. There's the technical aspects, and then you show them doing it, and then you take it back. So it's really breaking down the detail of the action.
Does the fact that those were you had receivers open, you had those plays, is that a real sign of
Things to come?
we're so close?
Yeah.
We get that little quarterback throws it just a little bit quicker, or the receiver doesn't take that half step where he slows down, whatever it may be.
So we had 2 of those exact plays on Tuesday's practice.
Did they go like they did in the game?
So there might have been some foreshadowing. And it goes back to, what do you do today to accomplish what you have to do down the road. And you don't get that day back. None of us get that. None of us even get today back. Whatever we do today, we can never go back and get it back. And that is a key to success in anything. So if I'm going to sit there and not pay attention to that detail today, that detail is going to come bite you on down the road. And so that's what we've got to really do.
Can we expect then a pretty determined Tuesday practice this week?
I would say that I probably will demand the attention to detail. Now, we are only in a 20-hour work week in the NCAA, which I understand. And if that takes all 20 hours on Tuesday to make it right, we're going to make it right.
Can you
All
talk
right.
a little bit about UC Davis?
Yeah.
They had some explosive plays.
Yeah.
What is it about them, their program, Coach Gould, that kind of catches your attention that you get your team looking forward to?
You know, when I see those guys, it's interesting because, you know, the physicality in which they played Stanford with, and some of the missed opportunities from a big play standpoint that they had on offense, really kind of open your eyes a little bit. And then you see them against Fort Lewis, who Fort Lewis played their tails off. And they went in and dominated the game. It's a team that has great tradition. It's a team that when it was a Division II team before it moved up was one of those go beat anybody anywhere or anytime, and has had some great players. I see that in what they're able to get in their recruiting. They're big on defense, which if you look at it, that's going to be an issue for us because it showed up. We didn't block big guys in this last game, right? You know what I'm saying? So there's some real and part of their pressure package. They've got some advanced thinking that's going to be. They're going to give Garrett some issues. So I look at that from that standpoint. You know, defensively, it's going to come down to us doing our job.
Didn't get a chance to ask you, but looking back at film, the targeting call, KPL.
You know, it's one of those bang bang calls. They reviewed it, therefore it was a good call. I think from a teaching standpoint, you know, he did turn his head and shoulder, but he also didn't wrap up. If you wrap up, and that's part of the officiating, you know, those points. So for us, I think it's a great teachable moment. Again, the effort was there. Their guy went down, our guy went to hit him, right? Trying to stop a touchdown. How he did it could be, you know, if you wrap, now all of a sudden, you know what? That might not go that way, but by no means did the officials have anything to do with this ball game. They did a good job and called it both ways. So, all right.
Both games, your team was down and showed a lack of quit. Is that encouraging from a maturity standpoint too, as well as showing the disappointment at halftime?
I'm telling you, I was proud of their fight. I was proud of them working themselves out of where really they could have said, the heck with this. What was it, 30-10, right? And we came back, and the guys stopped, you know, they stopped them on defense. We got a little rhythm on offense. There was always that continuous drive to go forward, and that's why I like this football team. Does that make sense? Now, what I really hopefully see happen, the momentum that we had off that first game and those fans and the energy, is to now get out to our stadium and, you know, get these guys juiced up with that home field advantage. Because I think a couple of our players said, you know, that it felt like we were playing at home, you know, the first game. And that's pretty cool. So I think that'll be good.
Kelly, last one. We got to get Steve Owings. He's got a 1 o'clock class.
That's just a great way for our team to, you know, move forward and realize that no matter where we get in the game, whether up or down, we just got to fight to the end and finish the game. So I think as we keep moving forward throughout the season, we're going to have adversity during games. We're going to be up, we're going to be down, but how we respond to that and keep playing throughout the entire game is really going to be the defining factor for this team.
Was one of the most disappointing things the result of the running game, CSU's running game?
Yeah, you always wish that it'll turn out in a more positive manner for us. We were able to run the ball the first game, and we struggled the second game, obviously. But going back and watching the film, it's really a great learning experience for us as an offense. Being able to go back and see, better footwork here, better hand placement there, gets the ball moving on the ground. So it's a great learning experience for us as an offense, and something for us to look at and move forward with it.
Because you guys
That's
are
something
very young up front.
that fell back on the offensive line a little bit. That everybody says the offensive line determines the running game. How was the performance of the offensive line?
Well, it's a team effort. I wouldn't just say it's the offensive line. It was the entire offense as a whole. Everyone's blocking, everyone's running the ball, and for the ball to move, everyone has to be in sync. And that's what's so great about the offensive side of the ball. If one guy messes up, then the play can be dead. And so offensively, we need to be that one mind, one sound, and move together as a team, really. And I don't think you just blame it on one part of the offense. It's really the whole offense as a group, and we need to continue to improve and move forward to be able to run the ball. So,
Talking like Ty and even Jim, there's certain things they can teach you in practice that you have to learn on you have to learn on the field. You being a first-year tight end, young offensive line, what were some of the things that Boise taught you or showed you that you guys need to improve on?
I think just the fact that we need to play every down like it's our last. We can't ever take a play off. We just got to win that one rep at a time. And that's really something that Coach Mack has tried to instill in us as a team, is win the next play. No matter what happened the play before, no matter if it was a positive or negative play, we need to win that next play. And that's what's so great about football as well, is that it doesn't matter what had just happened. It doesn't matter if you're coming off a win or a loss. It's what you do right then and now that really matters.
So you guys think you got frustrated then a little bit when the play didn't go right, you carried it forward into the next play this last week?
Well, you're obviously disappointed when a play doesn't go well, but even if we get in the 3 and out, we come back and we talk to the coaches on the sideline and see the adjustments we need to make, whether scheme-wise or if a new look came up that we need to prepare or that we needed to see. So we go over those things on the sideline, and those help prepare us for the next time we're in that situation, and we'll get the call correctly.
Nolan, you talked a lot about just kind of the teamwork to get the run game going, the offense going, everybody's got to be working together. How much of that just is going to take some time because you're new at tight ends, Walker's new at tight end, the entire offensive lines, you have a whole lot of the running backs, you have so many new moving parts that to get it all to work as a unit, is it just going to take a few more games to really get comfortable with each other to where that clicks?
It is early in the season, and we are all new players, like you said, working together for really the first time. So it does take time to get that feel for different guys and have the ability to play as a single unit. But I feel as we go through practice and games and we get more and more experience, that we will only get better. So.
Does CSU still have a ways to go to be on a par with teams such as Boise State?
I think that as a team, we could have played with them a little bit better, to be honest with you. Even when we were down in the game, we gave ourselves the opportunity to win the game towards the end. Play here or there, we were in that game. Even though we were down 27 points at one point, we fought back and still had a chance at the end. So I like that about our team. Even though we are down, we still have the chance to come back and fight and play against good teams. So, yes.
What do you feel like the progression of the tight ends has been, given that Kevon's obviously out last week and a little bit before, and new group?
The progression of the tight ends, I think, is just the next guy up, and the next guy, taking responsibility for what the team needs. And you can't be an individual in this sport, and you really got to think about your teammates. So that goes into your preparation in the film room and on the football field. So it's really not thinking about yourself, but thinking about the team as a whole, and fighting to be the best for your team. So that's not going to be a drop-off at all.
As a tight end group, when Steven gets his touchdown, that had to fire you guys up a little bit, especially him filling in for Kevon the way he did.
Absolutely. I mean, when any player has success, we get excited. And then the fact that it was a tight end to score, I was real excited. I was on the field at the time with him, went and celebrated in the end zone with him. But just the fact that anyone on our team is having success, the whole team kind of rallies around and gets excited for that person and then the team as a whole.
How is this new group of tight ends, how are you guys working in cohesion to kind of help each other out and move yourselves forward?
Well, Kevon is a really big factor with that. He's been in the system for multiple years now, so he knows the offense. He's another coach on the field. He, when we're out there at practice, even if he has to take a rep off, he can give us a correction when we come back off the field, and he's really just another coach on the field. So we all look to help each other out, whether it's a play here, correction with your footwork, hand placement. We're always there to help each other out.
Now that you've been there for a couple of games, how's the adjustment going for you? I mean, you liking the offensive side of the ball?
I just love playing football. You could put me on special teams. You could put me on offense, defense. I just love playing football. So whether or not I'm on offense or defense, I just enjoy playing the game.
Well, I know you guys have played a lot of places and all, but what's that environment like when they had a pretty good crowd?
Mhm.
You've got the national TV. It's night. It's new turf. Was there a little bit of any kind of intimidation factor at all that you guys felt?
You know, when you walk out on the field and you see all the fans there, it's I'd say it's more encouraging than anything. You get excited to play for that when you're on that stage, and when you get in the game and the ball's snapped, you're not paying attention to the crowd. You can't hear the crowd. You're focusing on your responsibility for that down, and whether you're blocking, catching the ball, running the ball, you're focusing on what you need to do. So you kind of tune those things out when the play is actually happening. So yeah, I mean, it's great to play on that stage, and that's something that we want to do a lot here at Colorado State, and so it's just something exciting to play for.
What's this team have to do to kind of start playing first quarters the way you guys play fourth quarters?
Well, how we practice, we do a period right at the beginning of practice called fast starts, and what that is, we do ones versus ones, and we go 3 or 4 plays, and that's just exactly what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to start fast. So it's something we work every day. It's something we continue to try and improve on every day, and that's something that I feel will translate into the game as we continue to move forward in the season.
You think it's just an experience maybe why it hasn't translated yet? That gelling coming together as a unit?
Offensively, you have to see what the defense is doing. Sometimes so. You have a certain play called, and they'll be in a defensive look that you might not have expected. So sometimes plays don't go your way, and sometimes they'll be in the perfect defense for the perfect offensive play. So it might not be a successful play. So I wouldn't say that we just have to keep we obviously have to keep working, but I wouldn't say that's the case.
I mean, or is some of it the in-game adjustments that you guys are making, though, that by the fourth quarter you've got a pretty good handle on how you need to go about attacking that defense?
Absolutely, and that just speaks volumes to our coaching staff and how they're able to prepare and make adjustments on the fly in the game, and we all prepare as hard as we can during the week in preparation for the game, and when they come with something new, we come off on the sideline and we get adjusted real quick and adjusted at the next possession.
What special teams are you playing on this year?
I'm on the punt team and the PAT.
Punt team, your net, it was one thing I know, talking to coaches, they really wanted to improve this year. It's jumped by, I think, 6 yards. You guys encouraged by the way special teams are playing right now?
Yeah, like I said, every play is the most important play, and that's something that special teams take prides in. We call it our bomb squad, so we're dropping bombs, and it's a great snap, great kick, and the guys covering down the field. It all works out together, and that's something we take pride in as a special teams unit.
But what do you guys think you're doing better on the punt team this year that's shown that jump in that punting?
I would just say, effort-wise, the effort is there. Where guys are taking pride in their job on the special teams and want to make the play. So we get a grade sheet at the end of every week, and if you give great effort on a play, you get a point. If you make a tackle, you get another point. So it's guys really competing to get the most amount of points grade-wise at the end of the week and go out and attack. So.
Is there a better cohesion between what Hayden's doing, I know his average has gone up, and what you guys are doing that's providing better coverage?
I would just say working at it every week, continue to improve like we do on offense and defense. Just keep working at it every day, and that's something that we, put a lot of emphasis on in camp this summer and in spring earlier this year. So that's just something that we put a lot of emphasis on and continue to try to improve on every day.
You're obviously a big part of the blocking scheme in the position you play. How is the communication starting to work with all the new moving pieces up front?
I would say it's improved a lot over the past 2 games. You get in those game situations, and you have to make adjustments on the fly. The defensive end might shift in at the last second, or the defensive tackle might move over a gap. So those are things that, as you continue to get more and more snaps and more playing time with the group as a whole, that you can adjust to, and it almost comes second nature to the point. It comes to this point where it's second nature, and you can just make those adjustments, and what type of blocking scheme you're going to have. So.
Anything else for Nolan?
Good.
Okay.
Thanks, Nolan.
Thanks.
Right.